We are on a mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy. On the Catalyst podcast, we dive into current events that are shaping how pharmacists approach their patients and their businesses. Fuel your passion for pharmacy, one conversation at a time.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
So today's podcast, kind of the goal is we just want to let people get to know you. We had Trip Logan here last, and he said, I'm not sure if this is a story podcast or not. And it's a whatever podcast. So we just want to get to know you more and let the pharmacy community get to know you more and maybe figure out some of the cool things you're doing and how they can do that too and be around in 20 or 30 years. So just tell us a little bit, how did you get in pharmacy?
So I grew up in this business, actually. My dad came to Jefferson City straight out of pharmacy school to start working at Whaley's Pharmacy. So I was literally born into the business. It was not my intention, really, to come back to the family business. I actually went to school to get a degree in marketing and business. And so I was going to kind of venture off into the marketing world. And my husband and I were living in Chicago and getting ready to kind of relocate, wanted to go somewhere a little smaller to settle down and start our family. And so at that point, my dad said, you need to come back and help me with this business. And I said, well, I'm not a pharmacist. I can't do that. And he said, exactly. That's exactly what I need is somebody to come back and run the behind the scenes portion of the business. And so my husband and I kind of talked about it for a while. And I thought, well, it's in my blood. And I spent most of my life growing up in that business. And so decided to come back and kind of see how things went. And 15 years later, I am sitting here and he is retired. So it went really well for him.
So I refreshed myself and I read over the article that we have on our website, on our leaderboard about you. And Whaley's Babies is celebrating 15 years this year.
It is. It is.
Congrats.
It's hard to believe how quickly, the years go by as you're building, your pharmacy, but all the departments within, those four walls as well, and things that we take out to our community and that grow with us as our business grows and changes. And so, yeah, it's really hard to believe that, my baby's off to high school and
you
all
and me
of
both.
those things.
Yes, today's my son's 22nd birthday. It's just crazy. So you got out of marketing and business, and where did you got that in Chicago?
So I actually, right out of school, my husband we tease, he's a recovering radio disc jockey. So he worked in radio for 18 years. We moved to Chicago to live there for a couple years while he worked in radio. And I actually worked for a nonprofit organization. It's not around anymore. Unfortunately, it's called On the Waterfront. We put on music festivals over Labor Day weekend. It was a nonprofit, actually helped other small nonprofits raise money. So I worked in marketing, helped bring in the bands and promote the festival. And so that was kind of my cool, fun job that I did straight out of college. We had no kids and could stay up Labor Day weekend, literally 24 hours a day for 3 or 4 days. And I loved it. But when we were ready to really settle down and have a family, we wanted to do something a little more 8 to 5-ish. And so as we were looking and exploring, we were using my marketing degree to be the one to relocate. My husband was kind of thinking at that point about getting out of radio and doing something also a little more 8 to 5-ish. And so we came back here and, it was really important for my dad, even though I grew up in the business. They had opened several new locations in the time period that I was in college. And so it was important for him that I came back and kind of worked my way through the ranks. I started up as a customer service representative at our brand new location that we opened just a couple months after I came home. Did that for a year or so. I moved into a technician role, became a certified technician, did that for a couple of years, and then moved into the management and marketing side. I started taking over the marketing for the company, started to do some management and HR portions, and then eventually moved fully into the financial management and operations of the company.
So tell me about the town. How big's the town?
Sure. So we are the capital city, but we're unique, very small. There's 45,000 people in Jefferson City, about 75,000 in our county. So we pull from 3 small communities around our area that come into Jefferson City. So we have 3 retail locations. So we did have a long-term care location. We actually absorbed that into one of our retail locations. Those non-DIR fees are very helpful in supporting our retail pharmacy right now.
Interesting. So you're coming home, right? What are some of the first that you get in the pharmacy and they started you off in customer service, but you still got all these marketing ideas. What are some of the first marketing things you said, hey, we got to do this?
Well, I think the big thing that we started to look at was the things that we did within our 4 walls of our retail locations that we assume that people knew that we did. I think we're bad about that in pharmacy. Sometimes we spend all this time researching these great niche markets or supplements that we sell or whatever that we, kind of have them sitting on our shelf and can't figure out why people aren't coming in and buying them from us. And so I really started there with some grassroots of what were we doing, what were we doing well, but we could really take to the next level with promoting that and marketing that in our community. At that point for us, it was some DME stuff in our Southwest location, a lot of ostomy and colostomy specialty wound care products. We do a ton of hose. Compression stockings is a really big thing for us. It was something that we were just kind of doing because we had it and doctors were referring, but really hadn't invested the time that we needed to train the staff and really do that well. And so it was really kind of a basic, we've been around a long time. Our Easton location is 77 years old. So we're kind of a staple in the community. So people knew that we were there, but they just think about you as being a prescription provider. And so my focus was really taking us to the next level of really being a part of our patients' health and wellness journey. And that was there on all different levels with products and services. And then I would say that my big contribution to the company was the creation of Mommy and Me, which is now called Whaley's Baby through our national program. But that was something that I started from my own personal experience of having a baby and not having resources in our community, not having lactation support when I was really struggling with breastfeeding. And so that personal experience turned into, hey, let's try this little section, which turned into, something that's been extremely profitable for us, but also other pharmacy partners that we help across the country.
When I had my daughter, you go through the Lamaze class at the hospital, and the Lamaze instructor may or may not be the lactation coach also. I was fortunate that, of course, I come from small town, Friday Night Lights, but the Lamaze instructor and lactation coach happened to be the mother of my brother's best friend. And so I had been to her house and picked up her son multiple times when I was the one driving my brother and his friends around. And I mean, she came in daily to check on me and baby, and I got the extra hand holding that you normally don't get in a hospital, that what your product and your service provides. And so I think that's really important, because when I had my son and my husband was military and we were away from family, away from all those comforts, no lactation coach ever came in and checked on us. So it was just a much, way different experience. And it speaks volumes to even, pretty close to what you offer in your pharmacy and that you put up with, you coach other pharmacies into getting into. And that's, helping the mom, because think about it. You guys don't think about, where do I pick up my prescriptions? Where do I get the groceries? Y'all go to work, y'all come home, and the guys are, hey, what are we doing for dinner? Whereas us moms are the ones that are going, got to pick up dry cleaning, got to pick up the groceries, got to throw this load of laundry in. Okay, we're going check in our heads. So that is major. That's huge.
That also might be the most sexist thing you've ever said.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I'm glad most of our customers are rural, more small town America.
I legitimately get the groceries. I wash my laundry. I do all those things. Come on, Marsha. It's the 20th century.
Looks like Josh is better trained.
Somebody told my husband that.
Yeah, looks like Josh is better trained. You need to talk to Jess and figure out what's going on there.
I did dishes and cooked last night. Thank you.
And he's proud about that. So we've got to talk. You got to talk to Jess and figure out, hey, what's going on here? There's got to be a book. We write the book and we can put it in the Whaley's baby. I
have Mark molded into certain things that I want him to touch and other things that I'm just borderline OCD that I'm like, yeah, just don't do that. I'll do it. But
and Mark's got it figured out. If he just does it wrong, he doesn't have to do it. So that's the.
So on the Whaley baby side,
I don't think it's quite he has it figured out so much as he does it his way, and I just have an unrealistic expectation of how I want it done that nobody can touch at my level.
You keep thinking that.
So I just kind of question on have you seen a disparity between, like what kind of services get offered in rural settings versus urban? Because, Marsha was mentioning, a rural West Texas kind of setting. I was in middle of Dallas and we had multiple lactation consultants come in, so where do you see that Whaley's Babies benefits the most? So
it really spans both, because there's a couple of different things that we see based on the different demographics and communities that we work with. So, I'll kind of start with ours. So when I had my daughter, there were no lactation consultants in the hospital. There was kind of a time period that we went through as a society where people weren't breastfeeding, or hospitals didn't want to be putting moms in a situation where they felt like they had to be breastfeeding or were a bad person if they were choosing not to do that. And so they kind of let go of all of those resources. And so I really found myself scrounging, and my whole process with my daughter was saved by a friend who happened to have some breastfeeding experience that kind of guided me through that. And so now our community looks very different after the establishment of our program, our relationship with the WIC department. They were struggling. They can only help WIC moms. So if you've got a non-WIC mom that needs breastfeeding support, where do they send them? So they were sending them to us for that support. But now both of our hospitals have lactation consultants on staff. But their challenge is that they really are only set up to help moms, exactly like what Marsha was talking about, helping moms in the hospital. Once they go home, those services are no longer available. So in our community, we have one person who does some lactation counseling out of their home. But beyond that, that's it, besides us. And so that's really where the gap comes into play in most communities. In our large communities that we work with, yes, they have lots of people on staff in the hospital. Sometimes they have people out in the community. But some of the big issues that you run into in those larger cities, like you're talking about, is the price tag that comes with that. So lactation consultants, can charge anywhere from $75 to $200 if they're doing a home visit. You have a lot of families that can't afford that. So where's bridging that gap of creating affordable consultations and access to product in those larger communities? In the smaller communities, you see nothing. They're normally traveling to a big city to deliver, or a larger city to deliver, and then they're coming home to their community where there's no resources. At best, you might have somebody who has a warm line that they can call and ask questions, but that hands-on just isn't available. And so we've really been able, in every pharmacy that we've worked with, one of the things that we do through our program is kind of researching that community and saying, let's see what's available, what kind of, and I don't want to call it competition, because at the end of the day in the lactation world, everybody's goal is to make sure that mom gets the help she needs to have a successful breastfeeding experience. But what else is out there in the community? Even looking at retail shops, there's lots of communities that have baby shops, but their focus is not breastfeeding, and they do not carry breastfeeding products. And so that's really the gap that we're filling, is that medical need, and bringing mom into the pharmacy, getting the support that she needs, if that's consultations or if that's product experts, which as pharmacy owners, we are, especially on the medical side of things, and getting her access to what she needs. So that's kind of why we've seen success, is we can fit this program into lots of different community sizes. As long as they're having babies and growing, then there's a fit.
So Whaley's Babies is a franchise. How many franchisees do you have?
So we just passed the 70 mark. So we're in 70 independent pharmacies in 26 states. So
awesome.
That's exciting.
Congratulations.
We're still a baby program. So about 2 years in the making. So excited to watch these pharmacies digging into bringing their programs to fruition.
So has anybody tried it and not worked out? Where it doesn't work out, why doesn't it work out?
So I think the biggest challenge that we see for pharmacies that it doesn't work out, the first is lack of effort. So everything that we establish in our pharmacy takes effort. And that's one of the things I really talk to people about when we're talking to them about the program is, if your intention is to buy a product line and stick it on your shelf and walk away from it, we're not the program for you. Product doesn't sell itself. And I know from my own personal experience, we've gone to trade shows, we've bought some specialty product line, and we're really excited about it. It's going to be awesome. And we stick it on the shelf and we walk away from it and we never think about it again. And then 6 months later, we go back and say, I can't figure out why this stuff didn't sell. Well, because we didn't market it. So you really have to be invested in, especially a program of our magnitude. We're not talking 2 shelves, worth of product. We're talking a 12-foot section of product that you're really ready to invest in. So most of the stores that we see that struggle with success are ones that just are not putting the time and effort into really developing, nurturing, and marketing the program. We have some stores who've just been in a community that's very, very small. Maybe they've got a couple thousand people. The population isn't growing. People are leaving the community, and they just don't have the volume of people to support it. So that's something that we really look at and talk about too. We have some people in small communities who are wildly successful because they have a big small community base around them. So if they're pulling in people, we only have 10,000 people in our community, but we're pulling in, from a county of 40 to 50,000 people, then we've got a real market there.
So talking about the revenue sources from Whaley's Baby. So you talked about, do you charge for lactation counseling?
So every one of our pharmacies is different. We personally, in our department, we don't. We never have. It's really something that we feel is a service to our community, something that we want to bring moms in. We feel like when we do that, we capture a couple of things after their service. One, we capture their OTC business, and they're buying products in the pharmacy. They want to do that after that consultation, especially when they find out that we don't charge for it. Also, the long-term goal is to capture their prescription needs. And we feel like for us, our experience has been that has come from having that be a non-fee-based program, but that is not how all of our pharmacies operate. We have some, so we offer, it's kind of a new thing we added within the last 6 months. We do offer a Zoom service. Our lactation consultant works with pharmacies who don't have somebody on their staff that they can offer those consultations. We only charge them $10 for that. Most of them pass that fee on to their patient. $10 to meet for a lactation consultant, for 30 minutes is pretty cheap. So it's something that is definitely a benefit for them to be able to have that if they don't have a resource in their community. We have some people who rent a space within their pharmacy to a lactation consultant that comes in, and they charge whatever their fee base is. And then some that have an employee, a technician, or a customer service person who went through the lactation certification program, and they're charging somewhere around a doctor copay, so around $20 to come in and do that consult. So we really work with every pharmacy and what works for them. If it's a staff member that's already on staff that picks up that extra certification, they're making themselves more valuable. They may not feel as likely to need to charge as somebody who needs to bring somebody in.
So you had 12 feet, you said, of shelf space. How much is that is renting breast pumps and things like that, as opposed to products that were more the mommy and me type products?
Yeah. So really the breast pump rental portion of it, very small. I would say maybe 25% of our participating pharmacies do a rental program. Most of it is product. Everything ranging from when mom first finds out she's pregnant and dealing with morning sickness, all the way to specialty baby about 2 years, age 2 years. So really, really focused on that medical side of breast care, postpartum care for mom, all the breastfeeding supplies that she needs, replacement supplies, and those kind of things, but really digging into that specialty as well.
Cool.
So I guess the question that everybody is dealing and struggling with right now is, during COVID, how has this affected not just your business as a pharmacy owner, but also Whaley's Babies?
Yeah. So it's interesting for us having 3 stores in the same community. So 2 of our locations were fully operational during COVID. So our Easton location doesn't have a drive-through. So our patients have to be able to come in to have access to that. We did limit the number of people. But for the most part, they were fully up and operational and running pretty normal. Our Southwest location experienced the same. I think we found that our OTC side of sales during COVID was very high because patients need things. And I think our vision as we watched people start to transfer their prescriptions from some of our chain competitors during that time was the comfort level of being in a smaller environment. So they need to get some Tylenol. Going into Walmart didn't feel very comfortable during COVID when everything was going on, where slipping in and out the door in your small corner pharmacy was much more comfortable. And when they came in and had those experiences, they were realizing, why don't I get my prescriptions here too? So we've saw some growth in those two locations for sure. Our West location, where our Mommy and Me department is at, was kind of the opposite. The staff was really encouraging people to utilize our drive-through and not come in the front end. A lot of those patients late March, when things hit here and kids were out of school, they were getting 90-day supplies. And all of a sudden we didn't see those people at all in like April and May. And so we really watched our sales drop. While we watched our Mommy and Me sales drop, we were still averaging about $3,000 a month in sales just in that department. And really the clear message with that is moms don't stop having babies. And they're actually having babies in a more difficult time. They're limited to the people that can come in and help them and support them. They're, asking family to stay away to try to keep babies safe. And so now all of a sudden they're having struggles and they have no way to have one-on-one contact with somebody to get them through that. So Zoom became huge for us. We had a ton of moms doing Zoom consults. And then what we could offer them was delivery of the products that they needed if they were inside of our community, or getting everything all packed up and they can buzz through the drive-through. And so it just was about, I would say April and part of May, and then June and July peaked right back up. And August was actually our biggest sales month in our department. So, we're proving that we're there for families and we're there for them at the time that they really need us the most in offering those services. I think sometimes we kind of slip into thinking, oh, these are all things that people can live without, but they're really not. They're things that they really need at a very fragile time.
So we're up to 70. What do you think you'll add next year?
I think that in the time of COVID, we've kind of been quiet as far as focusing on sales and really more focused on making sure that those 70 locations are growing and thriving and making those lactation contacts. But I see a big year of growth for us because I think realistically in these times of COVID, pharmacy owners are realizing now than ever before how important that front end is to us. For us, looking at our numbers and saying, man, those Mommy and Me sales really, really helped out West in a difficult time. And they're consistent dollars. It's 100% markup on product, and that's cash money coming in. These aren't things that we're billing for and then complaining about not getting paid for, but it's cash that's walking, coming in the door and helping us with our cash flow. I hope that people really sit back and evaluate their pharmacies and say, what do we need to be doing to really serving our community and filling all the niches and making sure that we have everything that they need. And this is certainly a portion of that. So we're hoping to push past 100 and hopefully by the end of 2020, but definitely into 2021, and just want to continue to service well every pharmacy partner that we bring on and really help them grow and improve their business.
So from a marketing perspective, not every pharmacy is going to do a Mommy and Me style setup, but what do you think the most important thing that they do to kind of engage their community is right now?
I think that whole understanding and benefit of them being there for the community. I think we have to continue to paint ourselves as not just being a place that dispenses pills, but really being a place that's part of the health and wellness of our community. And that, especially in times of COVID, none of us have the answers and the solutions and the cure for that. But what can we do to support them in those time periods? And for us, it's been some focus on supplements. A lot of people aren't sleeping well right now. A lot of people that don't normally experience anxiety are feeling a lot of anxiety right now. And so how can we continue to nurture and support them where they're at? And that's an ever-changing marketing focus. I think when we get in the rut of, well, we're just telling people that we're here, we're open, we have free delivery, and we sync our meds, those are all great things that we should be putting out there, but our marketing strategies have to be fluid. And we have to be always thinking about where is our demographic at and how do we meet them where they're at.
One of the things that we came up on with talking to Trimp Logan last week was just the importance of getting into the community. And really an understanding that if you open up a pharmacy and you're not out there in the community, you're probably not going to stay open. You've got to be out there figuring out what the needs are, what they want. If you don't know your doctors, if you don't know the employers, if you don't know the people, that you're not going to be successcul. Do you see that same thing in your pharmacies?
Absolutely. And, I think that's one of the things that I see some struggles with some of our Whaley's baby partners that we work with. Everybody is maxed out. That's a hard place to be as a pharmacy owner, especially for, pharmacy owners that are pharmacists that are working the bench 10 hours a day and then trying to figure out how to operate their business on the outside hours. And I think that that's so important, is figuring out how to be a part of that. And it's a struggle for everybody to get there. But, we spend a lot of time in our pharmacy, doing doctor detailing, obviously not during COVID, but normally we do. So, getting out and being face to face with those people, and you have to get creative about it. I mean, we can all have an open house and invite, doctors and nurses to come. They're not going to do that. They don't have time for that. They want to be in there with their families in the evenings too. So getting to them, we do a lot of in-services and going into those doctors' offices and taking lunch and doing a lunch and learn and teaching them about, especially on the baby side of things, about our products and what we have available and how that impacts moms. But we're also doing it as we continue to work on our Parata packaging and explaining to doctors what is the benefit of that and why are we asking them for refills a lot earlier than what they're used to getting them, to keep those patients synced on their medications. And so I think that contact in the community and with those referral partners is so important. And I hear time and time again, well, we just don't have time to do that, or we don't have the right person to do that, or we don't know what to say when we get there. And I think that those things are so vital to continuing to grow your business with those referrals coming your way.
I'm going to throw in here, Stacy's one of my favorite people. And this is probably something I should have said at the beginning. So I got certified in scuba diving because of you. Yeah. Taking it a step further, I just completed advanced like a week ago. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to get rescue. I'm trying to get my kids on board to do it. Because I know you told me that your kids are also, you've had them in scuba diving since they were like 5. Doing the junior stuff. So my son says he's interested, but he is so off the cuff. I told him he can get certified at 15 because he's not very. But I wanted to thank you for that, for inspiring me to really.
Absolutely.
So who's more adventurous in that, you or your husband, Stacy?
I think I really surprised him because he actually started diving first. He and my dad did an exploratory dive when we were on vacation in Mexico one year. And I kept telling him, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And finally he was like, just try it. And if you hate it, I'll never ask you again. And I'm like, okay, great. So I do the dive. We went to Curacao. Jumped in the ocean for the first time. And I actually I had to do a shore dive to prove my proficiency. And so I'd gone out with this girl who took me on this dive. And so the kids are on the beach with my husband and I'm coming out of the water and he's like, how was it? I'm like, I'm in, like, I'm totally in, I'm hooked. And so there's not a lot that I won't do or try. Now, if there's a giant shark in the water, I'm not going to go up and make friends. I'm going to kind of hang back and observe from afar, but I love it. There's nothing more magical and peaceful to me than being underwater, and it's amazing. I love it.
Hearing the bubbles. And
it's interesting. I had the exact opposite. I actually went scuba diving by myself on our honeymoon, and my wife was like, cool, I'm going to stay on the beach. And then when we went to Hawaii, I told her, I was like, all right, let's do this. And she said, I'll try snuba diving. I don't know. So she tried it and absolutely hated it. She is 100% not going to get scuba certified.
So I hated the snuba.
I did too. It was a bad decision.
The snuba, we did that in Hawaii. I did not like it because it's same kind of you're feeling tethered because you're tethered to, if anybody doesn't know that the snuba is, you've got a big long hose down to you and your air's on the surface and it keeps you from going too deep. You can't go too deep, but it was not. I described it as breathing through a straw, a very long straw, and that was not fun. But scuba was fun. Now I'm the more brave one. My wife got really mad at me at Cozumel because I was swimming after a shark. Why is he chasing the shark? It was a nurse shark. I was trying to get a picture. So where has been what's the most fun place to go? Tell us where's your favorite
all of your
dive?
dives, what has been the most exciting?
Probably my favorite is Curacao. I've just never been anywhere where the underwater coral is like so vibrant. Everything's like red and orange, and they're just millions of fish, and you feel like you're swimming in a giant aquarium. I loved it. So that'll be certainly on our bucket list. Turks and Caicos is really great too. But I would have to say probably Curacao is my favorite. So
I'm adding Curacao on my list.
Yeah, St. Lucia was fun. So I dove there at our honeymoon, and it was really cool because it was a different part of the Caribbean. You know, I guess St. Lucia is about 150 miles off the coast of Venezuela. So you got a similar type of deal where the beaches weren't as pretty as like up in the northern part of the Caribbean, but the water, you had like 150 feet of visibility, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So your 15-year-old, is she diving with you now?
So she has not. We're actually doing their certification in the spring. So we're going to Jamaica next Christmas, and that'll be the first chance that they really have to go diving with us. So they've been working on all their coursework and stuff, and then we'll jump in the water in the spring.
Okay, I'm ready to go diving. Who's going diving next month?
I'm in.
All four of us are scuba certified.
Yeah. Mark wants Marsha to get her rescue first.
I'm going the end
he
of
can be
September
rescued.
to do my rescue. I just got my my activation codes for my my coursework. So
how often do you get to dive?
We try to go twice a year. As far as ocean is concerned, we do a lot of, our local dive shop is great to do kind of regional. There's not a lot of places to dive in the Midwest, obviously, but they do a lot of fun lake dives. There's a place not too far from here that they have kind of a big quarry where they have stuff submerged. That's where we'll take the kids because they can do their certification in there, but also feel like they can kind of swim around. They've got sunken planes and school buses and all kinds of weird stuff that you can just kind of swim through. So that's really fun. We do, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Bonne Terre Mine. It's like a big thing in Missouri. It's actually a mine dive, which is a little bit creepy, but kind of fun just to go. For us, the big deal is getting in our gear and practicing. You know, the last thing we want to do is show up to the ocean twice a year and not have tested our gear. And, you know, you can lose comfort with it pretty easily if you're not doing it consistently. So we definitely jump in the ocean twice a year, but in between do what we can.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your dad.
Oh, he's awesome. My dad spent, like I said, he will come pushing on being a pharmacist for 50 years. So really came back to this business as a rookie. They were actually, the two owners were a father and son. So they had the One Corner drugstore, which is our East End location, and were ready to open their second location. So they hired my dad to run the East End location so father and son could work together in the new location. And so he says he has the most boring resume on the planet. He came here in 1973 and never left. But he has been an amazing inspiration for me because for his generation, they were really trained to dispense pills. They do it fast. They do it accurately. And that was really their focus, was being a pharmacist and doing that as accurately and efficiently as possible. But he was really a visionary when his partner passed away. And he, at that time, they had opened a long-term care pharmacy as well. So had 3 stores. And he just had this vision for serving our patients in every aspect that we could, and wanted to expand and open another store on the west side of town to fill that void. There were no pharmacies out there at the time. Now we have a ton of competition out there as well. But just somebody who never settled and always was looking for how do we do the next thing and how do we do it first and do it best. And he certainly instilled that in me, that, we can't sit back and be idle. And I think while he says now, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're going through pharmacy at this, really challenging time. But at the same time, he prepared me for that so well, because I'm not one to sit at my desk and say, well, I guess we're just going to sit here and be miserable and complain about how things aren't going well, instead of continuing to look at our business and say, so now what do we do? What do we do better? What do we add to continue to add services and value so that people want to be our customers and come in our stores? And all of that came from him just inspiring me that if you're idle, you're dead. You've just got to keep moving and growing and pushing yourself. And so he's been a huge inspiration for me. And he's not just my dad, but he was my business partner for 10 plus years. And now he's my biggest cheerleader. If I need to talk to somebody, or if I feel like I need a good pharmacy vent, he's always there for me and always has just the best advice. So I'm very blessed to have had the relationship that we have.
So how was he with the whole Whaley's baby thing? Was he like all in? Was he?
Oh yeah.
Is he doing lactation training? And I'm wearing my pink tie. Was he all good with that?
Oh yeah. So when we came up with the idea and wanted to implement it, and he's always been this way with me and my ideas. He's like, sure. I mean, I joke about this, but it's true. And he'll say it. When I first came into the business, I'd work for nonprofit and we had no budget. And I'm like, so what's the budget on inventory or whatever? He's like, I don't know. If there's cash in the bank, then we just gonna spend it. And I'm like, Dad, I can't operate like that. Like I'm used to living down to the penny in the nonprofit world. And he said, that's totally fine. We can have a budget, but I'm not making it. So if you want to make the budget and then show me what it is, and then I'll try to follow it. But so he was always on board with my ideas and my visions and things I wanted to do. And so when we came up with the department idea, he was like, fine, great. Let's do it and see how it goes and, do what you want with it. It was kind of, no pun intended, my baby, as it grew and grew. But he's always been so proud of me and so supportive of the things that I want to do and try. Now he's like super proud, Papa, as our business continues
So he sounds like
grow.
a super guy already, but did he change when you had kids?
Oh yeah, he's a very emotional guy. He's very sensitive and sentimental, and so yeah. I mean, as I became a mom, and him watching me go through those what were struggles that things that I championed and have helped other women through, I think he's really proud of that and sees the impact that that's had on our business and the reputation that we have in our community. But also, I think the reality of it is, and I've talked with a lot of pharmacy owners about this in our program. People buy things from people. It's not just the building. It's not just the pharmacy. We have to market ourselves too. And I talk with all kinds of pharmacy owners who do all kinds of cool things, whether it's nutrition counseling or, if they're the supplement expert, but they have to tie themselves to that too. And, that's something that I've developed in a relationship that I've developed in the community with these women and families. And, like every once in a while, I love a little bit of Chipotle, and I kid you not, the guy that's like the manager there is maybe 25, and every time I come in the door, he's like, "Hey, it's the mommy and me lady." So it's like, obviously marketing works. That the 25-year-old Chipotle guy knows that I'm like the lactation lady. But I think that just watching him be proud of me for, putting a dream out there and bringing it to fruition. It hasn't been an easy journey at all. We all have struggles as we're trying to grow and build things. But he's definitely in the background cheering me on.
Good deal. Our parents are usually our biggest cheerleaders, but then when we have kids, it's, I get to pamper and it's like, you don't even know who they are.
Yeah, my parents changed into some kind of aliens. I did not even recognize them when we had grandkids. I'm like, who are these people? I would have been better had you raised me.
Yeah, Jess's parents were the same. Her parents are very, very strict. And as soon as Ellie came around, they were like, oh, you want to burn my car down? That's cool. Here's some lighter. Right? Like they'll let her do anything she wants. And it's completely opposite of how...
you're expecting this like same level of strictness that they, forced on you as their child. But then it's like, oh, sweetie, you want ice cream? That's good too. You want breakfast, ice cream, cupcakes? And I'm like, no. How is this okay when it was not okay when I was 9?
Well, last time my in-laws were in town, they were taking Ellie to the park. And I guess they pulled up to this park that's, down the road from our house. And she tells them this isn't the right park. She wants to go to the park with the yellow slide. So these people took my daughter to the other park so she could play with the yellow slide. I was like, there's no way I would have done that. No chance.
I know Mark came back from your house and he was like, Ellie's like super social now. I was like, yeah, she's figured out how to get what she wants. It's not, She's learned real quick. It's not, no doesn't work. What works is, hug. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're good. What do you want? Yellow slide. That's what you get, right? Hug gets you the yellow slide.
I will say my dad right now. So my daughter has played volleyball for like the last 5 years, all through middle school. And this summer just decided that like she was kind of over that, wasn't wasn't really her jam. She wanted to look for something new. So she had been going out and hitting some golf balls with me on the range, decided she wanted to play golf. Oh, my dad is like, she's officially wrapped him completely around her finger because he's like hardcore golfer. So she had her first meet yesterday. He's just like proud papa, texting me every 5 minutes, want to know how it's going. And he's like super, super excited about that. So it's funny to watch them with the things throughout. My son's really into football and Grandpa's always on the sideline. So he's kind of the like supporter and the cheerleader. And then my mom's like the buy them whatever they want, give them ice cream one. So they're both a little bit different on that. Now my parents tend to lean a little bit more like still on the strict like behavior side, like not wanting the kids to get out of line, but that doesn't prevent them from spoiling them rotten.
So does your husband have a role in the pharmacy? Is he like doing the Whaley's podcast with?
No, but he should. He should do that. No, he doesn't. I am married to a now IT geek. So he works for the state of Missouri, worked in IT for about 5 or 6 years. After he left radio, he went back and got his degree. And now he actually does recruiting. So he hires for the whole state of Missouri IT department. So yeah, so he's around supporting all of our events and things. But we decided many years ago that our personalities are very different. We think we are married better if we're not working together.
Oh. Did he do anything on was he part of your website?
No, he actually does like the programming side of things and networking. So not development. Yeah.
Very cool. Any, so other ideas for pharmacy right now? Any other things that you think people should be working on? Words of wisdom? Words of wisdom. Oh, gosh. Well, so I think our biggest focus right now is kind of a couple of things. Obviously, with everything going on with COVID, I think it's going to be a very different flu season than what we're used to. I think that my biggest words of wisdom are innovation right now. We have a great on-site flu shot program that we've done for years. We have several large contracts. Our public school system, the public school system in Columbia, Missouri, which is about 30 minutes from us. We have a lot of businesses that we go in and do flu shots for. That has to look a little bit different this year than it's looked in the past as far as, safety and keeping everybody protected, but still getting them those very important vaccines. So we have gotten kind of creative with some of them of doing some drive-by clinics or setting up outside and doing those things to make everybody feel a little bit safer about the process. But I think this year's going to be like none other. I think a lot of people are going to be more invested in their own health and doing those kind of things that maybe they haven't done in the past. So I think that's an important thing for pharmacies to be thinking about in a higher level than just your patients who come in and want to get a flu shot. Obviously, there's some good money in that. Also, depending on if you're doing cash or billing. So I think that's really important. I think for us too, one of the big things I mentioned earlier, we've always been on the compression stocking bandwagon, but we've really jumped into some heavy staff training. And I actually just talked to all of our Whaley's baby stores about this on Wednesday. I think sometimes we have turnover in our staff and we kind of don't think about some of the things that maybe we haven't trained them to do. You bring somebody in and you just want them to learn how to answer the phone and check people out, but you don't think about all of those specialty things that they really need to be educated on. We really dug in and took our employees through some, more intense levels of certification on fitting of products. We're getting ready to add a mastectomy department to our Southwest store as well. And again, filling those voids in the community and welcoming people in for things that allow that relationship building, but also are profitable for us. And so I think looking at your staff and really being honest about the level of training that you're giving them on those specialty areas. Because with our stockings, these people come in, we have somebody who's extremely knowledgeable. She feels passionate about the service that she's offering to them and helping them, making them feel better. And then they leave. And I can't tell you how many people call me I have a staff member named Lindley. They're calling me all the time and giving compliments on how great she is and how professional she is and how much she helped them. Patients who were not our patients that become our patients. And that's all, we say as independent pharmacies that we're giving great customer service, but are we really? Are we really doing that? Or are we starting to slip? And so I think in these times that we're in right now, we have to all refocus and refresh and kind of hit the reset button and say,
what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What do we need to be fine tuning? And all of those things are things that keep us from slipping into the status quo and continue to allow us to operate at a more elevated level. So we really need to be digging in right now and training our team, taking care of our patients, creating new profit streams. And these are all ways that we can do that successfully.
So, congrats on 15 years. What do you see the next 10 years of Whaley's Babies looking like?
Oh my gosh. So, we do set a lot of big long-term goals. Right now I want to watch these stores experience what we are. Right now we're looking at our biggest year in Mommy and Me, despite a year of COVID, pushing 80,000 in sales just in that department. But the big thing that happens with that is not just that department, but how that overall impacts our pharmacy. Those women are coming in and now they're buying other products. And so we watch, us hitting the biggest OTC numbers that we've had, which where we're at right now in pharmacy, we need to be doing is selling that OTC product where the profit's really at. So, I think 10 years down the road, I hope that we've got, 300-400 stores that are really serving the women in their community. That's a piece of the passion for me with this is I'm helping independent pharmacies grow and create that niche and fill that void. But thinking about the impact on the women that they're impacting is huge for me, knowing that people aren't sitting home anymore going, I'm struggling at this and I'm going to fail because I have no resources, or I don't know who to go talk to, or I don't have access to the products that I need to get over the hump. Because we all know the struggles that we've been through, when you get over the hump, it's so worth it for mom and for baby and for the family unit to survive some of those challenges. And so for me, that's really huge. I tell every store that I work with, I'm not in this to make a bunch of money off of it and have a bunch of stores fail. That's not my goal. The passion for me is to watch them hopefully be sitting in the same place I am and looking at my own store and saying, look at the service that we're providing to our community, the women that we're impacting, and the ability to grow our business from that is kind of the perfect trifecta. And so I hope that there are, a good 300, 400, 500 pharmacies that have the trifecta too, and are watching that be part of their survival in a difficult time.
Well, certainly your enthusiasm is contagious. I can see why you've been successful. It was awesome getting to talk to you. If somebody's watching this and interested and say, how do I get a piece of this Whaley Babies thing? What would they do?
Well, they can, a couple ways they can find us. They can find us at whaleysbaby.com. There's actually a little interest form you can click and fill out your info, and they'll get a call from me. I'll talk to them about the program. They can find us on Facebook because of, most of our stuff is pretty secret sauce. So we don't put a lot of information out there. We highlight some of our pharmacy partners and what they're doing in their communities, or they can certainly find me at whaleysrx.com and just shoot me a email or give me a call, and I'm happy to talk them through the process.
Awesome.
Well, want to say a thank you for everything you're doing for independent pharmacy.
Thank you for being here.
There's a profit piece of that, but it's clear that you care about the profession and you care about seeing what we believe too is necessary for the future of a pharmacy and the future for pharmacy being a real thing and a thing that people look for and care about and want to be a part of. So, and we hope that we continue to have a part of that any way that you can let us. So,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for thinking of me and letting me share my story.
All right. We'll see you somewhere soon. Hopefully.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Post-COVID.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this Catalyst podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and/or following us. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more amazing pharmacy people like you. Follow PioneerRx on your preferred social media platform for the latest up-to-date pharmacy news and content.